Good afternoon. If everybody could grab a seat, we'll get started. Drop anything you need to back there. So welcome to our faculty, to our staff, and special guest with us here today, Carolyn Devaney. Carolyn and Mike Ives from the Data Vortex Corporation in Austin, Texas. I'm delighted that you're here with us and all of you today for joining us for today's dedication of IU's 3 new high-performance computing systems, Big Red 2 Plus, Jetstream, and Diet. Now, each system has a name and has a story. You'll hear a little bit about them as we go along. It was just over 3 years ago when we last gathered here in the Rubel Commons for the dedication of Big Red 2. Now, as you may recall, that was a ceremony that included renowned sculptor Don Gummer and his Academy Award-winning wife, Meryl Streep. They were already booked today and not with us, but at that time, Big Red 2 was the fastest supercomputer university-owned and utilized by a single research institution university in the United States. So today, in an age of constantly evolving technology, Big Red 2 still remains amongst the most powerful supercomputers owned and utilized by a single university in the United States. This is a testament to the vision and the foresight of President McRobbie, the IU faculty, Associate Dean for Research Technologies Craig Stewart, and all of those who helped bring the tremendous resource of Big Red 2 here to Indiana. As Big Red 2 continues in its service today to IU faculty and students, we're dedicating an additional suite of high-performance computing systems that each support specific research needs at IU. The first, called Plus, is Big Red 2 Plus. It's a Cray system comprised of all CPUs, where the original Big Red 2 is both graphical processing units and central processing units. This is an entirely all CPU machine that will be dedicated to support researchers who need extreme parallelism and who can utilize half to the entire machine capacity of the system for very large-scale computational needs, and especially those of IU's Grand Challenges research programs. The second is Jetstream. Jetstream represents a watershed moment for IU, being the first nationally utilized NSF-funded system to be housed here at Indiana University and to serve the national research community across many academic disciplines. And finally, Diet, housed at the Center for Research in Extreme Scale Technologies, or CREST, which Dr. Thomas Sterling will shortly introduce, is a small experimental system of which the internal machinations of its data processing are different from any other system that we've ever put into production here at IU. And I'm proud to say I saw some of the early benchmarks this morning, and they are very encouraging on Diet. So both Diet and Big Red 2 Plus are the result of recommendations from a Blue Ribbon faculty committee tasked with reviewing IU's cyber infrastructure and computational needs. So today also provides a moment to reflect on IU's arc of progress in NSF competed grants for large-scale supercomputing systems. Around 20 years ago, and at the national level, IU was not really even in the conversation. As a collaborator on the multi-million-dollar grants like Jetstream, as they continued to be awarded to a small and recurring group of institutions. But through the hard work of our research technologies team and IU's leading faculty, then Vice President McRobbie, and many others, today we mark the accumulation of a journey from not being invited to the proposal submission, to being invited and laboring furiously, but being unsuccessful in winning, to being collaborators and winning on other people's proposals, to winning the national competition in 2009 that awarded IU's first 8-figure NSF Cyber Infrastructure Grant to deliver an experimental grid system, Future Grid, led by distinguished professor Jeffrey Fox of the School of Informatics and Computing. The system served as an important community, of computer science researchers across the nation. And I should also note that Jeffrey played a major role in the NSF-funded COMET system led by San Diego. And now to today, now being the lead institution on Jetstream, a national supercomputing system backed by a $12 million award from the National Sciences Foundation. This journey, along with IU's continued local investments in computation, storage, software, and expertise, ensure that IU's researchers and students will have the tools that they need to pursue their research. Thus, congratulations to IU and to us all for another great step in this journey, and especially to Craig Stewart, Robert Henschel, Matt Link, and Dave Hancock, and all those on the Jetstream proposal team, including co-PIs and collaborators from other institutions. Co-PIs Matt Vaughn from the Texas Advanced Computing Center at the University of Texas at Austin, Nirav Merchant at the University of Arizona, and James Taylor of Johns Hopkins University for winning this national NSF award. So thank you all for joining us on what is another momentous day in the journey at Indiana University. Next, I welcome Craig Stewart, Associate Dean for Research Technologies, Executive Director of the IU Pervasive Technology Institute, and the Principal Investigator on Jetstream. Craig will tell you more about the Jetstream system and leading the NSF award-winning team. Craig.
Brad, thank you very much. Greetings. There is a wonderful quote from Kurt Vonnegut that goes, "I don't know what it is about Hoosiers, but wherever you go, there is always a Hoosier doing something very important there." At Indiana University, our Hoosier faculty are always busy doing some of the most innovative and important research in the US and the world. For years and decades now, the central IT organization at Indiana University has served as an accelerant and an amplifier for the research, scholarship, and creativity of IU faculty in fields including the natural sciences, the fine and performing arts, medicine, the humanities, computer science, and now engineering. So when the National Science Foundation announced the desire to fund new cyber infrastructure systems that would serve the national research community beyond the traditional users of supercomputers, we said to ourselves, we know how to do that. Jetstream was developed as a response to the question, what do US researchers need most that they currently do not have? Jetstream is an on-demand, interactive, cloud-based computing and data analysis system. Jetstream is a managed science and engineering cloud, a cloud managed for science and engineering first and foremost. If you want to analyze the methylation of genomes, or networks of influence among scientists, or dock ligands looking for new medicines and new treatments for diseases, or do dozens of other things that researchers might want to do, there's a virtual machine for that, and you can run it interactively from Jetstream. And Jetstream is a vehicle for people developing innovative new software, such as many of the faculty of the IU School of Informatics and Computing, who can use Jetstream as a vehicle to make their software available to the national community. Our goal with Jetstream is to provide a broad suite of virtual machines and a cloud system that enables and supports and accelerates research across dozens of fields of science and engineering research nationally, just as we have done for years locally. Jetstream is one piece of the very large puzzle of US national cyber infrastructure, and a federally funded cloud system won't replace or even try to compete with the large commercial cloud systems. But as retired IU professor Dennis Gannon put it, what we do is treat every scientist and every student the way the commercial cloud providers treat their large customers, where large in this sense means Pixar or Apple. I want to take just a moment and emphasize that Jetstream is an Indiana University accomplishment, made possible by collaboration across the Office of the Vice President for Information Technology, the School of Informatics and Computing, the college, the Maurer School of Law, the Purdue School of Science, and the IU School of Medicine. Many of these collaborations are facilitated through the IU Pervasive Technology Institute. For example, as Brad mentioned, we have learned much from the experiences and leadership of distinguished Professor Jeffrey Fox and his Digital Science Center and their experiences with FutureGrid. We're now partnering with the Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research to ensure that the applications that we make available through Jetstream are secure and safe to use. We've also partnered outside the university, and I want to thank our partners, and it's a long list. The Texas Advanced Computing Center at UT Austin and the University of Chicago Computation Institute, both longtime collaborators with IU. The University of Arizona, the creators of the Atmosphere interface that make Jetstream so easy to use. Johns Hopkins University, the home of the Galaxy bioinformatics software. Cornell University, the University of Hawaii, the University of Texas at San Antonio, the University of North Carolina, Jackson State University, and the National Snow and Ice Data Center. I want to single out Jackson State, the University of Hawaii, and UT San Antonio as being particularly important as part of our efforts to engage students from diverse backgrounds. Students we want and need to have active in and at the center of the intellectual workforce of tomorrow. And I, for one, am certainly hoping that some of the undergraduates at these institutions that use Jetstream wind up pursuing their graduate degrees here at IU. All of these collaborations and the Pervasive Technology Institute itself are anchored by the excellent staff of the Research Technologies Division of UITS. My deepest appreciation goes to my colleagues in Research Technologies and all of my colleagues in UITS. I want to take a moment and thank our vendor partners, Dell and the MathWorks. Dell is the supplier of the hardware for Jetstream. They've been in this since the very first discussions about this proposal. I'd like to personally thank our primary Dell representative, Jamie Stevens, who's just been wonderful to work with. This is a real win for us. The MathWorks, the company behind MATLAB, has worked with us to develop a license that lets any user of Jetstream in the US use MATLAB. This is just tremendously beneficial for the US research community, engineering researchers in particular. I'd like to personally thank our primary MathWorks representative, Kathy Mertz. This was no small feat. I'd also like to thank the National Science Foundation and particularly Bob Chaddick and Irene Qualters. Jetstream isn't just a first for IU, it's a first for the NSF. It's the first cloud system the National Science Foundation has funded to support research in all fields of science and engineering. This has been our shared journey with the NSF, and we are here today largely thanks to the advice and guidance of the NSF, and particularly Bob and Irene. Last and not least, I'd like to thank my wife, who has put up with a lot. So, today we launched Jetstream into full production mode. We're going to watch a video in just a second and let the discoveries begin. What Jetstream will do is allow practicing scientists in areas from engineering, polar studies, biology, zoology, anatomy, do interactive analysis using a handful of virtual machines in a cloud so that they can get answers to their important research questions now, whenever now is for them.
Networks are all around us, and the Cyber Infrastructure for Network Science Center is developing tools that help us all to read these networks, to analyze them, and to visualize them. Thanks to Jetstream, researchers and practitioners will be able to share algorithms and datasets, just like you share videos and images via YouTube and Flickr.
For a long time, our research has been about trying to enable biologists and researchers to take advantage of large-scale data, particularly data coming off of genomic sequencing. And depending on the kind of analysis, the kind of experiment, the question you're asking, the computational needs to actually analyze that data are very, very different. So that's what's exciting about having a cloud resource like Jetstream available, is now we're able to actually dynamically allocate the appropriate compute resources to accomplish efficiently the analysis that genomic researchers need. Having this kind of resource, something that's really flexible and can accommodate a wide variety of scientists' needs, is a real new step forward for NSF cyber infrastructure.
The name Jetstream comes from an analogy with the atmosphere. In the atmosphere, Jetstream is at the border between two large masses of air. In the US research community, Jetstream is intended to sit at the border of the existing NSF-funded cyber infrastructure and existing users of that cyber infrastructure and new uses and new users. So we intend to expand the community of people that make use of NSF-funded cyber infrastructure to accelerate their research and improve their research education activities by several thousand people. With that, on to the next system. I'd like to introduce Dave Hancock, Director of Advanced Cyber Infrastructure within the Research Technologies Division of UITS and the IU Pervasive Technology Institute. Dave.
Thank you, Craig. Big Red 2 is a new system that will be dedicated to IU Grand Challenge initiatives, emerging areas of research, and advanced large-scale computational problems. Big Red 2 Plus will allow researchers to run jobs that can utilize over 1,100 processors with more than 13,000 processor cores. As Professor Thomas Sterling has stated, this is a capability that very few universities provide for their researchers locally. Big Red 2 Plus represents the next increment in what has been an exceptional supercomputing roadmap at IU over the last 15 years. One that is arguably unparalleled by other R1 universities. Fortunately, supercomputers age much faster than we do. And while Big Red 2 will continue to be a substantial resource for IU, faculty, staff, and students, we must continue to develop that roadmap. Big Red 2 Plus will complement the existing suite of resources at IU and its focused support of large computing workloads. All research is important, but as noted by a recent Blue Ribbon faculty advisory group, in order to advance IU research even further, we need to provide resources focused and tuned for the very large workloads. This support includes not only hardware resources, but just as importantly, the personnel expertise to leverage these investments. Just as our physical infrastructure links together people in different communities, the cyber infrastructure we provide links people and systems together, acting as an engine for multidisciplinary research. We're grateful for the continued relationship with our vendor partner Cray in this deployment. Big Red 2 Plus uses the latest Cray interconnect technology, the same technology used in large Cray systems at Department of Energy labs, working towards exascale computing. This means two things. First, Big Red 2 Plus becomes an important platform for IU researchers developing new extreme scale applications. Those codes can be developed and tuned here and then moved to some of the very largest supercomputers in the US. Second, this system will be of great use to researchers in the School of Informatics and Computing, particularly the Center for Research in Extreme Scale Technologies, who are developing the underlying software tools that will enable applications to expand to exascale, tools that are made available to researchers across the US. These efforts will help keep the US at the forefront of global competitiveness in computing. Big Red 2 Plus is also the start of the future for us, leveraging one of the fastest and most scalable supercomputing architectures in existence today. These systems can be expanded for many years in the future, as the architecture of Big Red 2 Plus leverages the core of the Cray technology roadmap. Cray continues to improve this architecture with the development of tools such as their graph compute engine for big data analysis, making it possible for Big Red 2 Plus to serve at IU in that capacity as well. Thanks to Matt Link, Matt Allen, the exceptional team that operate RT systems, including all the other Matts, for all their efforts that come before and after a new acquisition. Thanks to the Office of the Vice President for Research, Office of the Vice Provost for Research, IU School of Medicine, and in particular, Fred Kate, Rick Van Kooten, Anatha Shakar, and Bill Barnett for their organization's financial support of the new system acquisition. Finally, thanks to Craig and Brad for their continued leadership and focus on advanced cyber infrastructure. I'm excited by the research that Big Red 2 Plus will enable in adding depth to IU's supercomputing portfolio. Tatiana Furrow, Chair of the IU Department of Medical and Molecular Genetics in the IU School of Medicine, will speak to the impact these resources have. Dr. Furrow has graciously provided us with remarks via video.
I'm sorry I'm not with you here today, but my name is Tatiana Furrow. I'm the Department Chair of the Department of Medical and Molecular Genetics at Indiana University School of Medicine. As part of my research, we're generating whole exome sequencing and whole genome sequencing from thousands of individuals. We're using the computing resources at Indiana University to store that data, which is terabytes of data, to analyze the data that I'm able to generate from human genome sequencing and understand what that sequence tells us about an individual's risk for disease. We can then use that information to try to develop improved treatments for disease. I'm able to do that faster and more efficiently than most investigators in the United States and even worldwide. Our access to unparalleled resources at Indiana University allows us to develop improved models of disease and identify the genetic determinants that contribute to disease risk.
Next, I'd like to welcome Professor Thomas Sterling, Director of the Center for Research in Extreme Scale Technologies, to talk about the diet system. Welcome, Thomas.
Thank you, Dave. You know, there's nothing harder than giving a short talk. When I have 20, 30, 50 minutes, I don't need any notes, but I have notes here. I cannot deliver them with the polish that we've just heard. So please don't judge me too harshly. Look, it is my distinct pleasure and honor to announce the deployment here at the Indiana Bloomington campus of the Data Vortex Diet research computer. This is a unique machine. It's based on an innovative network for communication across and within the parallel system. And I'd like to emphasize that as the field of supercomputing continues to evolve and evolve dramatically, even towards what we refer to as exascale by the next decade, the problem of data movement supersedes all other challenges that the computer hardware and software experiences. And the Data Vortex Diet computer is a unique machine that attacks this problem in a way unlike any other computer. And the deployment of the Diet machine here at Indiana University is unique in academia. We are honored and made the opportunity provided by having this machine allows us a unique kind of work that frankly can't be done at any other university. Let me get technical for a moment. What the Data Vortex, a modest machine as it is, allows us to do is send very small packets of information almost randomly throughout the machine. Mostly all other computers, including the very exceptional machines that we've just described, send very large pieces of information to get better efficiency. But some problems require very small messages to be sent. Those problems might include being able to do genomic analysis or study complex weather patterns such as hurricanes and tornadoes. It can look at the problems at the highest levels, such as the recent discovery of gravitational waves, which is made possible only through the use of very special machines. Data Vortex will advance that capability remarkably. But this machine is special for another reason here at IU. This is a machine that was acquired and thanks to Brad Wheeler, Craig Stewart, and others to make this possible. This was acquired through the recommendations of faculty throughout the university that had emphasized the potential value to Indiana University of acquiring systems not just to provide operational support for different applications, but to do the actual research and computing system architecture itself. And so the Data Vortex Diet machine is a first step in that direction. The name Diet came, and I'll blame Brad for this, but it's named after its inventor, Coke Reed. I don't know what we're going to call the next machine, but we are very happy. It is a lean machine, but capable of a lot of power. This machine will also not just serve the research at the Center for Research in Extreme Scale Technologies, which hosts it, but will also support both education and research within the new Department of Intelligent Systems Engineering, led by its chair, Jeffrey Fox, and its deputy chair or associate chair, or one of those titles, Mark Swaney. Mark Swaney is also the associate director, deputy director for the Center for Research in Extreme Scale Technologies, an expert in networking. He will be leading the research. And yes, we have our own Matt at CREST, who is also responsible for much of the work that will be done in that way. In fact, though we've only had it on the floor for a couple of months, we've already managed to explore new areas, new operational capabilities and different kinds of behaviors within the Data Vortex that even its inventors had not seen before. I would like to finally acknowledge and recognize Carolyn Devaney, the president of Data Vortex, her colleague Mike Ives, who is heavily responsible for its development and technology. It is more than the acquisition of a machine. It is the building of a partnership along with a friendship among their colleagues and ours, in which we're together able to advance the space of computer technology and system architecture. It is now also my pleasure. It's very scary, you know, when you're in a room like this, because you look around and you see how many people are your bosses. You know, you talk about an org chart, and it's a pyramid, but it's upside down, and you're at the bottom, and everybody else owns you. And it is my pleasure to introduce one of my newest bosses, but for which I'm very happy. Dean Raj Acharya is the Ruddy Professor of Engineering in Computer Science and Informatics, and the new dean. A difficult task to fill. Both Brad Wheeler's wonderful support as interim dean over the previous half year, and then years of support with Bobby Schnabel. And Raj is absolutely capable of taking that good work and moving it forward. Let me just tell you a little bit about what he did before he came here. He came from Penn State. He was head of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering for 14 years. Now, over that period of time, in terms of the research expenditures, he moved Penn State from the position of 64th to position of 8th. So I figure that will put us in position 1 within the next few years if Raj does this. In doing that, he initiated 4 centers of excellence, graduate certificates in embedded systems and in security, and in addition to managing, administrating, leading, he also conducted his own research in areas of big data mining, network sciences, and engineering and genomics. Please join with me in welcoming Raj Acharya.
First of all, I'd like to say that there are no bosses in academia. I mean, so there's no such concept. Thank you for a wonderful introduction. I have to say that this is a very, difficult task of being the dean following Brad. He sets the gold standard, I mean, so anybody who comes after Brad, I find that difficult for those people. I'm a consumer of, the high performance computing, and what Brad and Craig and Thomas designed it's people like me who use it. And I have to tell you that when I looked at the research expenditures, the total research expenditures in the field of computer science at Indiana University is ranked number 12. And if you think all the Ivy League schools have computer science, elite computer science programs, and to be ranked 12th amongst these national universities is a real hard task. And I think part of the reason why we are ranked so high is because of the activities not only of the computer science department, but the allied departments which help computer science and the supercomputers here, which Craig and Brad designed. So if you look at modern science, it has been traditionally theoretical science and experimental science. But there was a great promise of computational science as the third way of conducting science. And largely, it has not yet completely materialized to its fullest form. And the reason for that has been that we didn't have such productive machines, such fast machines, such large machines. And I think the computational science will now be much more prominent than the theoretical and the experimental science because of such machines. And I think that that's very important. If you look at, for example, drug discovery, what people used to do was to perform an experiment, and it would take thousands of days to simulate and find out the exact molecule which needed for the drugs. Now comes in computational fishing expedition. With the computational fishing expedition, with machines such as this, what one can do is to go and hunt in random ways for possible molecules which could be potential drugs. Once we narrow the possibility of this enormous search space, what we can do then is to perform the bench science to verify the molecules which we have mined. So that's an example of this. The School of Informatics and Computing does research in these sorts of fields. It does research on privacy. Differential privacy is very important, but there are other privacy issues which requires lots of computing, massive power, and we can use machines such as this, security, social informatics, and almost A to Z in the field of science and computing. So I'm very happy to be here, and I'm really proud to be associated with this unit. Thank you.
It's me again, right? So with that, we are pleased that you have joined us today. We'll have some refreshments out here. We hope you'll stay around and chat with everyone, especially the many of our faculty who've come over. If you have a moment, please take time to go over on the tour. The tours will begin from this door. They'll escort you over to the data center. We don't make the data center open very often, as it is a treasure and a secure resource for the university. But we're happy to show you not only Big Red 2, Big Red 2 Plus, and Jetstream, but the many storage systems, other production systems that we have over there, and I hope you'll take advantage of this opportunity. Again, to our faculty, to our senior administrators, our distinguished corporate guests, all, thank you very much and enjoy the reception.